calling in.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Don't be mad at me. I know I'll be looking good.
Look, man.
What? Why you got an attitude?
We're going to establish some stuff today.
Man, you got an attitude already. You came in here causing accidents on the road. Can't be driving in traffic.
Should probably let people know who we are. I'm Kirk M. Samuels.
I'll be Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men. Having real conversations for you.
Yeah, we have one of them days.
Yeah, man, he's having some traffic issues. Watch people plowing into poles and stuff. Hey, the traffic report today is not good.
That's bad up there, man.
It's crazappy.
I think somebody was trying to turn left in front of somebody else and hit them, and then that other car went dead on right to the light pole, man.
But that was entertaining to see, though.
I was like, ooh, I need to pray for that.
See, y'all need to understand a little bit about physics. This is, educational systems going downhill. People don't even realize that two objects cannot occupy the same place at the same time. I'm just saying.
That was bad, man.
It was bad.
It was not looking good, man. So yeah, finally made up in this bad boy. My cameras give me issues, man. And
It's an issue kind of day.
You give me issues.
Yeah. Because you're late. You make
more
me late.
Issues than Kleenex got tissues today,
Yes.
man. You know what I'm saying?
You better get the extra big box of Kleenex because we got issues, man.
It's one of them today, but that's all right.
I think it's just because I got vacation-itis. I'm ready to be out of town. I'm ready to go.
That's what it is.
I ain't want to go to work today.
You're a short timer.
I am.
You a straight up short timer.
I'm ready to get out of town.
For reals.
It's been a year. I need to get back out of town before I go crazy up here.
Where you going?
Going down to Sedona. Gonna go get some of that magical vortex Sedona energy. But yeah.
Where's that? Arizona? I went to public school, man.
Northern Arizona. It's magic down there, man. So but none of y'all can go. If you're listening to this, don't ever go to Sedona. It's too crowded already. Secret's out. People started figuring out there's Red Rock magic down there, and so every time I go down there, there's more of y'all clogging up the roads.
People come to Colorado for a different kind of magic.
Yeah. They come for that green magic, that white magic, mountain magic, whatever.
All that kind of magic.
Rocky Mountain High.
Going down there for some other stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? All these people coming to Colorado is breaking my heart, man, because making everything more expensive, making it hard to be here.
It is, man.
I'm heartbroken.
My son sent me a thing saying that like half of young adults under 30 are living at home with their parents.
I bet them parents are heartbroken.
Yeah. It's tough, man.
It's tough out in
these streets, man.
Well, I just saw a thing where all the richest guys in the world are selling off their stock. The Walmart family sold off billions in their stock. Bezos sold off billions of his stock. Buffett's selling off his stock. Zuckerberg. And they always are in the know. They know what's up. So, maybe I was going to say something, but then I can't say that for FCC radio. It doesn't look good.
Man, it's an election year, man. It's gonna get stupid.
Gonna get crazy.
People gonna be blaming everybody for this and that. Whoever get elected gonna be this and that. We're gonna blame them for this.
Did you see those stories on TikTok where the people were asking Alexa about the election this year, and she said there's not gonna be an election because of martial law, and then somebody asked her about what was it, World War III, and she's like, oh, World War III starts in May of 2024. It's like what?
They got a schedule.
When you get home, since you got Alexa, try that out.
They got a schedule.
Well, I mean, it makes sense if they got a schedule, and then Alexa knows about it. And now these dudes are pulling their money out. They're like, just wait.
They got a schedule, and Alexa knows.
Yes. Try it. When you get home, try it, or when we get off, we'll try it. We'll try it on the break.
I'm a grown man. I ain't got time for all that.
Come on, but it'd be freaky if she said it.
Man, I'm just focusing on what I can focus on, man.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Creating your own world.
Squats and Jesus. That's about it, man.
That's all I got time for.
That's all I got time for these days, man. That's all I got time for.
How are those supplements working for you? Are you soaring?
Yeah, well, definitely, yeah. I'm every day. It's like I can tell what I did 2 days ago.
Like this hurts, that hurts. Should we talk about what we said we're gonna talk about, or we gotta talk about traffic all day?
I got a question for you, man.
What's that?
You ever been heartbroken?
Man, I'm a man. Of course I've been heartbroken.
For real?
Yeah.
When's the last time you've been heartbroken?
Oh, it's been quite a while. I mean,
there's a trigger you or nothing. I'm just curious.
It's probably been over a decade because of the last probably before my last relationship, because
Now, was that a relationship breakup, or was that like heartbroken? Like somebody broke your heart?
no, that was a
I ain't
relationship
talking
breakup.
about like just, oh, I'm sad because,
Yeah,
it ended. I'm talking about like somebody legit broke your heart.
I think it's been almost 20 years. Well, no, it's been a long time since I was like legit heartbroken. I
You
think.
got a hardened heart then.
Yeah. Well, I also learned from my mistakes. Like, oh, maybe I should fix my picker and quit picking these ladies that are gonna be like that.
I hear you.
What about you, man?
Speaking of, shout out to Tanner, man. He got date number 2 coming up. Oh, man.
He's a Hinge success story.
Don't worry, Tanner. She ain't listening to this. Don't worry, man.
Yeah, she hadn't figured out where you work yet.
You're safe, man.
But if we find out who she is, she will know.
Oh, yeah. You don't want us to know who she is.
Yeah.
We'll show up.
We'll
show up.
We'll show up, do a live broadcast from your third date. A play-by-play.
On location. Oh, no. We fumbled the ball.
Yeah, oh yeah, there'll be a crowd. We'll be watching appetizers. We'll buy you appetizers for you.
That'd be hilarious,
Yeah,
dude, if we did a play-by-play.
That would be a fun live to do a remote.
We do a remote where Tanner's on a date. Like,
Oh, come on,
he's
see.
leaning in. He's leaning. Oh,
Careful,
no.
Tanner. We'll tell Nikki and Mike, and this will be a
Oh.
thing. Third date remote. It's gonna be live on the air.
She ordered the extra lobster tail. Oh, that's never a good sign.
Uh-oh. Gold digger.
We're gonna document Tanner's dating life.
Oh, that'll be funny. That'll be hilarious.
But heartbroken is part of that, man. Being heartbroken,
Yeah.
not for everybody, obviously, and for every situation, but when you put yourself out there, man, when you go on dates and when you get into relationships and all that kind of stuff, man, that's part of the deal. And a lot of times we don't like to think about it from a guy perspective. That guys get heartbroken too.
I mean, honestly, even if you Google heartbreak and guys, heartbreak for guys is worse for ladies. I think for several reasons. One, we don't
Worse for ladies.
No, heartbreak is worse for guys than women.
Right.
I think because guys are not emotionally or ladies are more emotionally aware. They're more emotionally driven, so they're more used to their emotions. They're more used to those things. And most guys are. Sorry, guys, we're suckers. We're chumps. We tend to have the star-crossed lover syndrome. We think this girl's gonna be the one forever, and we think that like Tanner, he thinks he's the only one dating this girl, but she got like 4
That's
down
cold-blooded. That is cold-blooded, man. That's dirty, man. That's dirty.
We don't think we are. We
That
think we're the
is
only
dirty,
guy.
man. That is dirty.
It's
How
true,
you gonna
though.
do Tanner like that?
Hey, I'm just
How you gonna
saying.
do Tanner on date 2. You already like spoiling the man's life, man.
No, I'm trying to educate the man.
No,
He ain't the only
man.
one.
You just hating, dude. You like them old dudes in the Muppets. You like them old dudes up in the balcony.
Who do you think you are? You're the other old dude about
Oh,
He's
yeah,
just being
man.
like, get off my lawn.
I am, but I ain't hating on Tanner.
I'm sorry. It was just fresh in my mind. I'm sorry, Tanner. She's a good girl. She's a good Christian girl. She don't know nobody but you.
Tanner, he's scoring, man. Don't call his name.
Wait, why do you think it's been so long since I've been heartbroken? I'm like,
You already got his girl like out in the streets, man. You already said she belonged to the streets.
She belonged to
man.
the streets.
Oh man, that's cold-blooded.
But no, I mean, there's actually a point to that. Like, why so many guys they get heartbroken young, and then either become players or shut down because it's painful for guys. We don't know how to deal with it, and there's no infrastructure. There's nobody saying, "Hey, let's talk about your heartbreak, gentlemen," because we're supposed to suck it up. And we have no training to be emotionally mature or emotionally educated. And then we go through something that is much more difficult for us than most women because we don't have any sort of societal norms of support. We don't talk about it. I mean, and why do you think the self-cancellation rate is so much higher for guys?
And as Tanner just found out, you ain't getting no support from you. You ain't getting no support from the guys.
You get support by how real friends are. They'll talk crap to your face, but then they will support you behind your back, kind of thing. But no, and something like that, you got to actually be like, oh, I'm hurting for this, and be for real. Because the guys will probably joke around because they don't want to talk about it and realize that they don't want to talk about their heartbreak. But I think when you're actually a strong male, you're strongly masculine, you'll be brave enough to say, "Hey, I've been heartbroken, and this is what it was like."
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely are behind the curve socially as far as men. I think we're probably getting better, but generally speaking, we're behind the curve as far as men, socially anyway, support structure wise, and just just how we act and interact. And I think I think especially when you get into that dating realm, man, and relationship realm, man, it can be a minefield, man, and you gotta it's a fine line because on one hand you gotta put it out there or else you'll never, that's the whole point. But at the same time, it's like timing. Who do you put it out there? Who do you open yourself up to? When? How? Where? All that kind of stuff, and it can be definitely a minefield for men. And then we also maybe aren't as good as women are as far as connecting with others and sharing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, it just dawned on me. I remember my first heartbreak. I was 9 years old, like third grade. Like it was one of those things where I had a crush on this girl and she knew it, and then I didn't realize like girls are awful early, like manipulative, and like they will damage your soul because. I was just a naive little kid that had his crush on this girl, but she had a boyfriend. And then one day they broke up or something. And then she said she wanted to be, wanted me to be her boyfriend or whatever. And I was on top of the world for about 12 hours. And then the next day she was back with old dude and laughing at me because she basically just used me to make him jealous. And I mean, I think the worst part was going home. And even my dad was just like, well, don't kill yourself. I'm like, as a kid, just like, dude, this is my first heartbreak. Like, this is it. Like, this is the one defining thing. And he's like, don't kill yourself. Because he thought it was funny because it's just puppy love. But I didn't.
I think my first time was also like first grade, second grade, something like that. Her name was Jennifer. I'm not going to put her last name out there because you can probably find her on social media.
She's still out there.
And I don't want her to know I'm still hurt.
Oh, see, now she'll be stalking you, man.
That was like first, second grade. And probably the last time and the only other time was probably about 5 years ago. And so, from a guy perspective, it can be tricky, man, because when you walk that dating and relationship line, man, it's like you got to guard your heart. And at this point, I'm speaking to guys. I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's some women out there saying, we do too. But this is men of masculinity. And so, from a guy perspective, we got to guard our. So a lot of guys show up in a certain way that can maybe turn women off, or women might, have a perception of how guys are in the dating realm. And a lot of times that's because of we kind of have to be in a different space, a new space. And I even think dating today, relationships today are probably different because, women don't present maybe like they have traditionally, in terms of, in their feminine as opposed to in their feminism. And
like that.
And so we got to kind of move a little bit different. They want a guy that's sensitive but not too sensitive. They want a guy that's this but not too that. And a lot of them, they show up like dudes. They got dude baggage.
Yeah, nowadays they don't know what they want, and they've been told a whole bag of lies. And then you got a bunch of guys who got heartbroken, don't want to be heartbroken again. Like we were talking about, we got broken in school. Don't want to do that again because it was so painful. And then either it shuts us, it hardens our heart, or turns us into players, or both. Or so then you have this cascade effect of effects from being heartbroken.
I'm so heartbroken right now.
Yeah, I got to take a break, don't we?
Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Madman of Masculinity. Boom, man, Tanner, that's cold. Man.
That was cold blooded. I'm sorry, it just came off though.
Right in there, man.
I was just trying to be funny. I didn't mean to throw you under the bus.
You were right in there, man. You got your girl out in the streets right now. Man.
But that would be funny if we did a date live. That would be, we could be like outside the restaurant doing a live broadcast. Tanner's in there right now.
He shoots, he scores.
Oh yeah, she's smiling, she's laughing. He's getting in there.
Pointer.
They're going for dessert.
That'd be interesting. And then if we do the thing where we put like a little earpiece in and we talk to you from outside.
Yeah.
We pitch you.
Especially when you come outside, we have paparazzi you with all the bright lights. Like, how was your dinner? How was your date?
Now that could be cool, man, because then we would be outside and then we show up like, Joe, it's you. Get your autograph. We get your picture. Can I follow you?
Yeah,
dude, we show up. We can be.
Wait, are you Tanner? No way. I love you, man.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Dude, this could be a thing.
That's a thing.
What if we sat at your table?
No, that would be weird.
And we just kind of, on
Hey, you gonna eat that?
We interview y'all and how's it going? Hey, on that, back when he said this, what were you thinking? That could be kind of
That would be a little bit.
wow, that'd be weird.
Yeah,
that'd be
right.
weird.
That'd be awful.
All right, man.
Do it.
We're back.
Yes, we are.
Mad Men and Masculinity.
Did you push the button?
I didn't push the button.
See, I didn't.
Now-
I knew I didn't hear
Yeah,
the
you
beep.
didn't hear the button. Now I push the button.
Okay, now see how we gonna know what time it is? You don't push the button.
That's our time. I'll give us an extra like 10 seconds.
All right.
On the timer.
I can't even push the button.
I can't, man. I'm telling you, man.
It's been one of those days, man. It's been a rough day.
It's
It's
been a rough
been a rough Monday.
It's been a rough day.
Ah, rough like heartbreak, man. This is just
you
been a
already
rough
got
day.
Tanner's girl out in the streets,
I know.
man.
Already messing up something that
that
doesn't
might
even
be
start.
your future wife, man, and you already got her out in the
Bruh.
streets.
I want to tell you a funny story. When I was living in Breckenridge and I was in full player mode, like just didn't care. My friends were friends of mine because they knew me.
Yeah.
And one dude, like, there's this new girl that I think it was like a new season. So you get this new crop of people coming in, they come, work for the resort or whatnot. And this one girl came in and I'm just bouncing around, just being me, playing around. And I guess he liked her because I roll up and he's talking to her and she turns to talk to somebody else. He looks at me and my nickname back then was Kid. He's like, Kid, go away. And I looked at him, I looked at her, I smiled and was like, okay, and left. They ended up getting married later on. I was like, all right, right on. I respect you.
Tanner, at your wedding, man, we're going to tell the story at the reception.
Yes.
At your wedding, we're going to tell the story at the reception, man, how Jason had her out in the street after the first date. Man. He was trying to ruin it after the first date. But thankfully, I'm
just trying to let him know, that there might be
Thankfully,
something to watch out for, because nowadays it's hard out in these streets, man.
It is, man. But there are there are good people. There are a lot of good men. There are a lot of good women. I remember my wife on social media. A lot of people meet on social media.
But you took your time, though.
That's
the thing.
You got to take your time.
Especially as a guy nowadays.
You got to take your time. There is no hurry. If it's right today, it's going to be right a year from now. That don't mean you sit on it forever. I mean, at some point you got to go or get off the pot, right? I mean, even in baseball they got a pitch count. I mean, the pitch clock. I mean, and so at some point you gotta make your move or not, But at the same time, there is no hurry. As long as it's progressing and you have some kind of end goal in mind, then that's cool. But you gotta take your time.
Yeah, I mean, especially nowadays, we've talked so much about it. I mean, there are those occasional what is it, the exceptions to the rule where they meet and they know it from the first day.
Yeah.
But for most of us, it takes a bare minimum of 18 months just to get over the natural oxytocin flood and the puppy love syndrome and all that stuff to actually get to the place where both parties can no longer hide who they are. They got to take the masks off, and you got to find out the true intentions of people, because a lot of times nowadays it's very one-sided. The guy's got to provide everything, got to show up with everything, and then a lot of times ladies are just like, oh, he better bring everything, I'm bringing nothing. And so you got to take that time to find out what she's bringing.
Yeah, you do. You gotta watch people over the long term. You can't just assume. A lot of times people show up and their representative shows up, not necessarily them. But then in addition to that, just the nature of humans, the more we get to know the person and the more you see them in different settings, different situations, circumstances, see them when they get upset, see how they fight, see how all these things. And a lot of times it takes time for you to see the totality of, the extremes of this person. Those extremes may not be very different, but at the same time, we all have highs, we all have lows. And so it takes time, because otherwise, yeah, when you go too fast, too soon, you're setting yourself up for a heartbreak. And our number one fan finally chimed in. Where you been, girl? Man, I've been seeing your pictures, and I think she's in Florida or somewhere. I don't know. She's somewhere sunny. And I'm like, man, she ain't chimed in. All the heartbreak creates emotionally unavailable men who can't move forward.
Yes, they can. They just need to want to and get some help to move forward.
A lot of times these are our experiences, and so we can't blanket our experiences on, cast that net onto everybody. Mm-hmm. But I would say you're not totally wrong. Mm-hmm. I would absolutely say you're not totally wrong, because when a guy's been hurt and when he's been hurt bad, man, it's just so easy to shut up and shut down and just become a shut in. That, I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that now I'm back in Colorado because you couldn't move forward. Oh man, that's gold. And so, I mean, I think you're right in terms of guys, in terms of that happens to us a lot.
Well, I mean, socially, we're just trained to suck it up,
Yeah.
and guys deal with heartbreak worse because it hits us in a different way, and it's usually the first, like, I mean, unless like a parent died. I mean, a lot of times the first heartbreak for guys is up there on that level of like a parent dying, of how it affects them and how it crushes them, and then there's no outlet. They don't feel like there's any outlet, and each one of us have to deal with it somehow. And what tends to happen is, I mean, we joke about it, but what tends to happen is, a good analogy is, like, Kirk just saw this car wreck on the way to work that jammed everything. So now somebody just had this car wreck. They just ran head, right into a pole. And then everybody else is like, get up, shake it off. They might have broken legs, might have broken bones. Like, heartbreak is just the same thing. It takes time to heal. And what a lot of ladies now haven't figured out is they want a guy to be everything. But if you took the time to find somebody and get through his barriers, who's had a broken heart, but who's now a bit jaded, or maybe just who's working on himself, and find somebody like that who you can actually take the time to get to know, you'll probably find a guy who's gonna be much more loyal, much more honoring to you, because you actually saw him for the person he is on the inside, versus all the outer stuff that we keep experiencing nowadays, that we don't feel like we're human beings, we're human doings. What are you going to do for me, and what have you done for me lately? And then you wonder why we don't want to move on.
It is up to the guy to heal himself. It is up to the guy to give himself a break, give himself some time to
grace,
reflect, give himself grace, give himself freedom to feel the emotions, and go through the grief cycle or the grief process to some period of time. And if you ever studied the stages of grief, he's got to give himself time to experience all those things and learn all those things, and then grow from that, and to learn and to apply what he's learned going forward. And if you just say I'm hurt and then I'm just never going to do this again, I'm never going to be open again, then then man, you're missing out on the gift. You got to be able to apply those lessons and be able to experience all of the good things that there are to experience. But when you go through that heartbreak, man, I mean, it sucks, man. It's terrible, and it's not something that guys are built for. I mean, it is not. I mean, and so, but at the same time, like I said, I haven't gone through it. I can tell you that it's possible, and it's totally up to the guy to work on himself and fix himself before he gets back into that space.
Yeah, I think where a lot of guys get stuck is that their first heartbreak happens when they're young, and they're young and dumb, and they're not at a place where they have any emotional maturity whatsoever, and they're not at a place where they're willing to even admit that they're heartbroken, or that they're hurting, or that they need support or help. And maybe if they have a good relationship with their parents, they might be able to say, hey, I'm heartbroken, and get some support there. But for the most part, a lot of times you don't. And so that's the first one that colors all the other ones. And it can go in a couple different ways. You can end up being kind of the nice guy, like, oh, I don't want that to happen again, I'm going to be the nicest guy ever. And then you get put in the friend zone, which creates more heartbreak and more trauma and loss. Or you get into the other side where you're just like, I'm hard in my heart, and I'm just going to play with every woman and never get serious, and break hearts myself because I don't want it to happen to me again. These are all phases of life, things we go through and learn from, hopefully. But if at some point you get to a place where you're like, I want my life to move forward, but it's not, maybe you need to look back on what have you not healed yet, because so many relationships I see nowadays fail almost immediately because both partners come in traumatized, and they're trauma bonding and haven't healed themselves from their past wounds. And now they're just trying to find somebody who will either heal them or help them through the stuff they haven't worked on themselves. And so that same energy of trauma tends to attract you. And then you wonder why you're having these explosive, crazy relationships.
Well, to the women who keep finding themselves with emotionally unavailable men, my natural advice is why. My natural advice is, and obviously, Janine, I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about anybody that is liked. I've seen a couple likes come through and all that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about anybody specifically, but I'm just talking about in general. You hear people, but you definitely hear a lot of women say, I keep meeting these, all men are this, and keep meeting these emotionally unavailable men. And when I hear women say that, my first response is, well, what is it about you that keeps attracting emotionally unavailable men? And are you looking for somebody, to fix, to heal? What is it underneath your surface? And so as much as a guy, and today I think we're probably leaning more towards talking about guys being heartbroken, but as much as guys would need to heal themselves because we're not built for heartbreak, I think sometimes he might say, I'm not ready to be out there dating because I'm not even available. And at the same time, by far, there's a lot of women that could say, you know what, maybe I keep meeting these unavailable men, emotionally unavailable men, because there's something in me that keeps drawing them or attracting them or being attracted to them. And maybe I need to heal that.
Yeah, it's all about doing the inner work and looking in the mirror. I mean, I think Kirk and I both went through it. We talk about it quite often, that there came a point in our lives, for me, it was about 10 years ago, where it's like, oh, I'm the common denominator in all this craziness. Every relationship, I'm the common denominator. Maybe I need to look in the mirror and start doing some work and get, do some personal development work, get some awareness, get some counseling, get something to realize what my trauma is, why I keep looking or attracting these same type of people, and how to work with that and heal that so that in the future I don't do the same things. It's not fun, it's not easy, but that's where wisdom comes from. Walking through the fire, getting to the other side, and realizing, my past does not define me today unless I make it so.
But a lot of times, people, especially guys, do make those dots connect and say that if this has happened before. Now you got to remember, 8 to 9 out of 10 relationships are ended by the woman, including marriage, right? So a lot of men, had a woman come to them saying, you know what, yeah, this ain't working, or I'm leaving, or whatever. Had the relationship end. Not that it was, he didn't have any fault or any blame, but either way, that's how the relationship, that was the impetus to ending the relationship. So a lot of guys have dealt with that. And then a lot of guys say, wait a minute, man, why do I want to experience that again? I mean, it seems to be that, women just kind of test drive, but they don't want to, they might rent, but they don't want to own.
Yeah.
And they definitely don't want to be in it for the long haul anymore. These are the narratives that a lot of guys tend to tell themselves when they experience this over and over again, which lead to a guy saying, you know what, I'm just going to be out here playing the field. I'm just going to, hit them skins and just keep at it. I'm just going to be Marcus from Boomerang. I'm just going to be the player, the playboy, the guy that never settles down, the guy that's just out here doing his thing. But those are the narratives, those are the tapes that play in his head, and a lot of it I think has to do with that experience of she's going to be out at some point.
Yeah, I mean, and there was a clip from a movie where Matthew, I can't remember his last name. He was in Scream and a bunch of other movies, but he talks about that, where all these players and all these guys that women are like, oh, he's just a player, he's just in the streets, just doing that. That was the guy who had the biggest heart, who was broken and said never again. So there was somebody in his past, usually a lady or a young woman, who didn't know any better, who's been influenced by media and social media, that she is the prize and she is the table and she doesn't have to bring anything, and all she has to do is take from every guy. And because of how they've demonized masculinity, it's been looked almost favorably upon, like, well, you got to take from these men, you got to take their hearts and take their souls, and don't worry about the repercussions. Well, a lot of ladies now, especially as they're getting into their middle years, are realizing the repercussions of what has happened to these men and why they're not willing to take those steps again, or they've been burned so many times. You're like, I'm not doing it.
And now, I don't think that's an excuse from a guy perspective. I mean, to get to get our stuff, in line, because I think if you can't have intimacy, then you're gonna miss out on a whole lot of things in life. Intimacy with, in a relationship, romantic setting is one type of intimacy, but I think it spills over to other types of intimacy in your life. And so I think it's incumbent for a guy. Had I not gotten over my heartbreak even 5 years ago, I wouldn't have the relationship I do with guys now in terms of close brotherhoods and all these other kind of things, since they all involve the same things: trust and transparency and intimacy and all these other kind of things. And so, I think that is incumbent upon the guy to work on for himself, to not allow the poison of things like modern feminism and things like, whatever, hurtful women or all the pain that he's experienced, not allow those things to get inside of him and to make him something that he can't be. And so, speaking of something we can't be
on here all day.
Can't be on this joint all day, man.
Better take a break.
Y'all know we need a break, man. We got to get some sponsors.
All right, we'll be right back. Mad Men of Masculinity, KLDC. See you in a few.
Boom. We got our girl back, man. No more man. She on that thing. No,
She got tired of them sharks and mosquitoes
real.
and
We're safe.
alligators.
We're safe. And you can always count on us. We'll be here for you. We'll be here for you. Even when you left us for another guy.
Yeah, that's all right.
We're still
We
here
ain't mad
waiting
at
for you
you.
when you came back.
See, we ain't holding no grudges.
We are not. We are here. We will be here. We love you to death. Love you to life. Boom.
I think that's better saying.
Love you to life.
Yeah, I think that's better.
I get it from my buddy, Brian. That ain't original. I can't take credit for that.
That's all right. You ready?
Madman of Masculinity.
Right here on KLDC.
We're back on
Yes,
the
we are.
interwebs, everywhere, all the podcast platforms, Facebook, YouTube. Holla at your boys, madmenradio.com. Shout out to our sponsors, Castle Rock Men's Health, Barry Overton, Realtor.
Pro Auto Care.
Pro Auto Care. Pro Auto Care hooked you up, didn't they?
Man, Pro Auto Care. I'm telling you what.
I saw the truck out in the garage,
Woo!
man.
I'm so happy I met Al and the family.
Yeah.
You know, we like to promote the people that
Yeah.
do good things that we actually work with, and Pro Auto Care is one of them. And you know, Kirk was lucky enough to meet him on the golf course, and then he got talking to him and found out what he does, and then we had him on the show to talk about integrity in auto care in the auto industry, which is almost unheard of nowadays. And so I'm living proof, and Kirk is too, because I mean,
Boom.
when have you ever called an auto parts store or a place and they told you, do you really want to spend money on that?
Yeah.
Like every other one, I'm like, they're like, here's everything we can do to your car to make it brand new, and we want to do all of it today.
Nah, man, when I talked to Alex, man, he was like, well, I mean, I know you got a crushed up side mirror, and if you want to pay $1,200, we'll take it. But, do
Do you really need to?
11-year-old car, 175,000 miles, do you want to? Or, So anyhow, I taped that bad boy up and did it to it. But yeah, so we're talking about heartbreak today, man, and
Especially heartbreak for men.
especially heartbreak for men.
I think it's something that's, I'm glad that Janine's back, because she reminds us that a lot of our viewers, if not most of our viewers, are ladies who are figured out that maybe they should learn about men because they like men or they would like to.
Yeah.
Realizing, ladies, that heartbreak is a bigger deal and is harder for men. And when you just are told or you think that it's no big deal, and then all your single girlfriends are trying to ruin your relationship, and then you leave a good man. Once you've left him, or the relationship doesn't work out and he's heartbroken, good luck with that ever, him coming back. Plus, I mean, there are a lot of guys out there who maybe have been through that and have figured it out and are starting to do their work. Those guys are going to be a little more, they have a few more layers on them, might be a little more guarded. But I bet you there's some diamonds in the rough there if you take your time to find a good man and take your time to get through those layers with him. Because Kirk's a perfect example. I mean, he went through, I'm sure Kat could talk all kinds of days, for days and days about how many layers and stuff she had to go through with him until he was like, okay, let me open this up for you and show you, the real ooey gooey Kirk on the inside, not this hard shell on the outside, which I think that's most of us nowadays. Most of us guys have been through that. And we're just waiting for the woman who's willing to put in the work and show that she's truly interested in who we are as a person, not just what we can do for her or bring to the table and whatnot. And when we find that woman, we're much more likely to open up and then, turn it into a real intimate relationship.
And I'll share this anecdotally, not because I'm at all hurt or by it or still scorned or anything like that. I honestly believe that had my heartbreak 5 years ago not happened, I would not be in the place I am today, which is married to my person. Period. And I would not have been available to be that. I wouldn't be available to be in the space to receive that had I not gone through what I went through in that heartbreak. So it's almost like the dynamite that blew up the mine, but now that the mine is blown up, now I can go in and pull out all the minerals and pull out the
diamonds,
all the diamonds that were in that mine. And so, man, yeah, I think it was like 5 years ago, something like that. I don't know. I'm not keeping the math.
It might have been about 6 or so more now. Because it was
Oh,
like right when we
it
first
was,
started hanging out.
But man, almost out of nowhere, man. It just dropped it. It left me a note on my front door. Grown woman, grown man.
Doing high school stuff.
And
Junior high
I was
stuff.
home at the time, and she knew I was home because I worked from home on that day of the week back then. And, she left me a note on my front door, man. And, I was like, man, I was devastated, dude. I was like weeping. Man, every soul in me was crushed, man. I remember that like it was yesterday, sitting on the side of my bed, man, with just tears just flowing. Like, I mean, I had put all of my eggs in that basket, which I shouldn't have. Hindsight being 2020, that I shouldn't have, because there were a lot of red flags that I should have, held back on. And, it's like that pace car in NASCAR, you get behind that pace car, and then when it's the right time, the car pulls off, and then, all right, now it's time to go. Well, I didn't wait for that pace car, and I was like all in. And man, yeah, she left a note on my front door out of the blue. And like I said, I mean, I was all in. I was all in. And I mean, I could go into way detail about the stuff that I did being all in, but point being, I mean, it crushed part of me, man. It just crushed me. But like I said, it was the dynamite that broke open the mine that I got a whole lot of gold and diamonds out of since. But in the meantime, I almost had to, it's like when you paint something, you got to get down to the bare metal. Right. So you got to sand that down to the bare metal. Then you put the primer, sand the primer, maybe you need another layer of primer, then some paint, and then, all that kind of stuff. And so I had to do the work, man. I had to get into, the personal work. I had to work on myself. What is it? What is it that I needed to work on? Why was I yet again about to go, quote unquote, all in with, somebody that was not made for me. And nowadays, and again, through that we met, through that I met a whole lot of other, close guy friends, and, a lot of just growth period on me physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, all that kind of stuff, man. I mean, published another book that partly used some of that experiences. And, and then when I met who's now my current wife, she'll tell you, man, I was like, nah, we're going to pump the brakes on this one.
Yeah, hold up.
And so, that was one of those situations that I could have easily said, you know what, I'm just going to be a player from the Himalaya, like Jerome Martin.
Yeah.
But, I could have easily said, you know what, I'm just going to run these streets, man. But I was like, no, I'm not built like that. I'm not for that. And, and so that opened up the door for a lot of things.
It's ironic you talk about the, kind of the auto repair thing, getting down to the bare metal and pulling them dents out stuff. I mean, it's almost like how we do on the inside is how we do on the outside. You see all these people now who have dents, and now they're putting those little Band-Aid stickers over the dents. Like, haha, it's funny, but that's, how, if that's how their car is, it's probably how their life is. But for us guys, we have to realize we got to get down to that core self part of ourselves. And that's why I love internal family therapy, which is, I think it's only been around since the late 80s, but it really gets into the parts and why we all, when you talk about all the voices in our head, especially when you go through heartbreak, you got those 10 different voices in your head fighting, like, oh, you didn't deserve that, or yeah, you did, you're worthless, and oh, you need to do this and get back at her. No, don't, you got to be nice. And then you have all these pieces and parts of you that are all traumatized fighting within you. And you think about, that's why I call it internal family system, because you think about it, if your whole family came together, try to help you out during a heartbreak or something else, and you got all these different voices, mom saying this, dad saying this, brother saying this, cousin saying that, it's the same sort of thing. And what you got to do is acknowledge all those parts and love them out of the ways to get down to who you really are. And that's where the work is really about. I mean, all the work, whether it's heartbreak or, childhood trauma or PTSD from war or whatever it is getting back down to who you truly are, and then loving and acknowledging that part of yourself till it comes back out. And then once you get to that place, then you can show the world who you are and attract the person who's going to be your person. Because I think what a lot of our trauma does is gets us to that point of like, we panic. We're like the drowning man in the sea, grabbing at whatever we can float with, whatever might work, and attracting nothing but driftwood and broken pieces of other people because they are attracted to that same frequency of trauma. So getting to that work, whatever the work is, I mean, whether it's men's work, religious work, whether it's therapy, whatever, find whatever works for you to get down to who you really are, and then build that guy back up, build up the true guy who you are, so that you are now educated about heartbreak, you're now educated about trauma, so that you can go in more educated and wiser into the next instance and not allow those things to happen. Because it's really just a matter of watching for the red flags, asking the right questions, paying attention to what they do versus what they say. And it goes for men and women both. Paying attention to actions versus what they say, how they treat you, how you feel around that person. Because your gut will tell you a lot of times whether this is the right person for you. I know in my past, I didn't listen to my gut and it turned into a lesson. Well, sometimes you can skip those lessons by actually listening to what your body is telling you, what your gut, your intuition is telling you, and putting up, asking the right questions, finding out about this person so that you're not just going in blind because, oh, they got a nice butt, so I'm gonna chase after and give her everything. It's like, maybe we need to be a little more business minded, a little more wisdom minded, a little more wise about who are we giving our attention and time to, because all we have is our attention. Who are we giving it to, and are they appreciating it?
One of the things I learned, and it was about myself, was that I did what I call aspirational dating. So I was wanting to date, and I was pursuing women who I thought would somehow validate me by being with them. And a lot of times it was somebody that was because of looks, or maybe they were
Status.
Maybe, yeah, they had some kind of status, or maybe they were, on stage and speaking, and I had in my mind, man, we could be a power couple, and we could both be on stages, and we could both be doing this, and we could both
I had the same
together.
thoughts, man.
And or maybe it was somebody that was more spiritual than I am, and I was like, man, I could really become the spirit man that I wanted to be in my faith if I just get with them, and we'll just sit around and all we'll do is loving each other and just pray all day, and it'd be great. And I'm not that, but if I get with her, then maybe I'll become that. And it was all aspirational dating, as opposed to the underneath all of that, the root of all of that was validation. I was looking for validation from the person I was dating and the person I was in a relationship with. And so that put me in a position to be something, or try to be something that I'm not, as opposed to being who I am and loving that and being comfortable in that, and then finding the person that matches with that. But when I was doing aspirational dating as a man, looking for validation through a woman that I was dating, then that put me in a position to be hurt. I mean, this person went off and told all kinds of stories about me around town and all this other kind of stuff. And I mean, just so on and so forth. But these things, are that I learned about myself. And when on top of learning about, attachment styles and grief and personality types and all the stuff, basically all the stuff that we put in 7 Secrets.
Yeah.
But I mean, just to incorporate all those things. But yeah, when I got out of the aspirational thing, when I'm like, you know what, she doesn't need to look like this or do this on stage or have this or make this much or live here or whatever, all that kind of stuff. No, she needs to be my person first. And then I came into it, more grounded and not leading with my heart, where I was open to being heartbroken. Quote unquote.
Well, and all those things were external things too. I mean, when we spend so much time focusing on the external things, and it's just like what ladies do to us. They focus on the dudes, like what we can do for them, how much we make, how tall we are, but they're not interested in the heart and the soul of the man. We get in the same kind of thing where we look at the external beauty, and maybe she's successful, or maybe she, is something that I can aspire to, or something that if I get with her, she'll turn me into something and it validates me. That's all external stuff. And when we're so focused on the external, we don't look at what is the internal core spark being of that person, the energy of that person. That is what should attract us in the first place, but we're so trained externally. But doing the internal work gets you more attuned to the internal work, so that you can be more attuned to somebody else's internal, and you will find that person who really matches with you internally, spiritually, metaphysically, energetically, however it is. That's the person that's going to make you the most happy, because they're feeding you internally. They're feeding you, with the energy and the spirit, versus this external stuff, which all the external stuff is going to change. How many times have we said it on the show? Everything that you think you own as a man is going to be somebody else's someday, including your house, your cars, your wife, your kids. So if you're worried about or thinking about, oh, well, she looks good externally, so that's what I should get with. Be more internal.
I'll tell you what's internal is this break.
Yeah, let's internally take a break.
Let's take a break. Mad Men of Masculinity, KLDC. Boom.
Thanks for stopping me, because I was about to go off on a rant.
I saw that. I was like, ooh, we already
Better stop.
13 and a half. But
help me help you,
dude. I'm telling you, man, I was trying to be something through the person I was trying to get with.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get with somebody that is, a exercise freak.
And don't even exercise.
And I'm not like, dude, I'm not into CrossFit. You know what I'm saying? I'm not into this and that. I show up in those circles where she is, and I'm standing out, because I'm like, obviously he don't, but. So yeah, man, it was, for me, it was all, I was looking for validation through it all, man. So I was trying to, and as a result, man, I was exposed prematurely. I mean,
Yeah.
heart wise.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing when we haven't taken time to heal ourselves. We're this open wound.
That's it.
We're just exposed.
That's it.
Plus, we're also like, instead of being the person that we want to be,
Yeah.
we're looking for that person. Like that. What was it? Les Brown said, like, here's the secret to get the person you want. Write down every attribute you want, ladies or gentlemen, and then become that person.
Yeah.
But most of us won't want to become that person. We just want those attributes that we don't deserve or don't even match with.
Mm-hmm.
Probably should talk about this on air.
Boom.
Okay. Hey, we are back.
Yeah.
This is the Madman Show.
Coming down the home stretch.
This is the last
Talking
quarter.
about heartbreak, man.
Yeah.
Talking about heartbreak.
Have you? I wish we were at the call-in show stage because I guarantee, man, the lines will be lighting up. Like, have you ever been heartbroken?
This thing,
I'm
man,
telling
on my
you,
screen here.
This is one of those subjects that is not talked about enough that everybody has dealt with.
Yeah.
We've all dealt with heartbreak. Oh no, I'm sorry. We've all experienced heartbreak. How many of us have dealt with it though?
That's the thing. Most people have not dealt with it, and I think in order to deal with it, you need to stop. You need to stop and take time.
Stop, drop, and roll like you're on fire.
As opposed to you break up and you don't even deal with it, especially if it's a heartbreak. And what do? You go get right online. You go create an online account, and then next thing you know, you going on coffee dates the next day.
I see so many ladies do that. Where I realize it's just a difference of maybe it's attention or but I see a lot of ladies doing that, and I'm starting to see a lot more guys doing that too.
Dude,
now.
I did that, man.
Yeah, just like, okay, I'm not feeling it. Let's jump online before we even like try to work on this.
I was a serial coffee dater. I mean, I had so many points at Starbucks, it wasn't even funny, dude. I had free drinks for like a month.
Yeah, so many points you had stock.
I mean, dude, I might as well, man. Let's do Howard Schultz or whatever. I mean, if I'd invited him to my wedding, he would have showed up with all the coffee that went into that thing, man. I'm telling you. And so and again, because that's the difference in, doing as opposed to being. I was out there doing dating, but I wasn't being the person that would end up with a successful result from that dating. I mean, man, I mean, this is no secret. I mean, I've had this conversation with my wife many a times, but man, I had multiple coffee dates back to back in a day, man. I would spend the whole weekend going from one coffee date to the next, man. And I would have them timed out where I would meet you for 2 hours, and then I'd give myself time to get over to that Starbucks. But you need time to just stop, man. You need to stop and evaluate things. You need to take a break. There was a book that, this guy wrote, I don't even remember the name, but it was basically like take a break, like a hard-on break or something like that. And I ordered the book, but then I never read it because I realized I got problems reading stuff. But and it didn't come in audio. But I mean, taking the time to reevaluate, taking the time to love yourself. I'm not talking about narcissistically, but I'm talking about just self-care, like self-love kind of thing. I mean, just loving the one in the mirror so that you're open to somebody else loving the one in the mirror. And as opposed to just consuming the dating world, stop and just take a minute. Spend some time by yourself. Can you go on a date by yourself?
Yeah.
Can you go to a sushi bar or whatever your type of restaurant is and sit at a table by yourself? I mean, go somewhere to a park and just sit in whatever. Can you date yourself? If you can't date yourself, why would somebody else want to? Yeah. And then you put yourself more grounded so that you're not showing up desperate, or you're not showing up, where you're needy or whatever the word is that I'm looking for. You're not showing up in that way. You're showing up where if it's there to receive, you're there to receive it, but you're not there to make something happen.
Yeah. And if you have not dealt with your trauma, if you have not dealt with your heartbreak, then you are reacting. And if you're reacting, you're acting out of trauma and fear and pain, and you're just going to get more trauma, fear, and pain. It may feel good in the moment. It's just like any other addiction, any other drug. You may, like, I just need this for tonight. Well, it may just be for tonight, but then how many more problems is that going to cause in the future? But to Kirk's point, once you do the inner work and you fall in love with yourself again, then what you do is you radiate your light, you be yourself. And I think one of the mistakes Kirk and I have both made in the past is as we've kind of grown our businesses and been on different platforms, that attracts a certain type of person. And sometimes those moths to that flame are not the ones you want. And when you don't have that, kind of self-awareness, the self-confidence, and the self-knowledge of your foundation of who you are and loving yourself, it's very easy. Because I know I had one come up to me and was I was like, wow, and I'm just completely all the brain went out of the big head, and or all the blood, whatever, but the brains went away. Well, yeah, I'm just like, how is this girl coming and talking to me? And then it didn't end well. Yeah, no, that was probably one of the worst ones.
Yeah.
But just being aware, gentlemen, if you are working on yourself and you are, growing and getting better, to be aware of those and to have that foundation and that self-awareness to vet these ladies, because sometimes that as your flame gets brighter, you are going to attract. But if you're not within, that solid foundation or that strong backbone to vet these people and say no, have boundaries, because the right person will accept your boundaries and will make it through all of your vetting to become your person. That's how you know they're your person. But a lot of them won't.
Yeah, this person, this last experience that I had was one of those, man. I'm coming off a stage, speaking in front of thousands of people, me and my sword and all this other kind of stuff. I got my table out in the hallway, and there's a line down the hallway of people coming to get books and things, all that kind of stuff. And I'm looking over, and she's looking at me, and I'm looking at her, and I'm like, And so, yeah, it is one of those. And so from a guy perspective, especially when you are a guy that has something to offer. And by the way, I think a lot of guys kind of undervalue ourselves in terms of what we have to offer.
We do.
There is a low bar, unfortunately, for healthy men who are about stuff and men who are doing good things. And so if you're a guy that's doing something good, that you're halfway decent looking even, but especially if you're about something positive, you're already ahead of the curve. So you got to understand that you have something to offer. And so when you show up, you should show up in that kind of way. You have something to offer. And give it time, because I'm telling you, especially the older we get, you got to give it time, or else you won't find out who the real her is until it's too late.
Yep.
Until next thing you know, you writing songs on the radio about, you paying her $20,000 a month in child support.
Yeah, I know I'm gonna get flagged for this, but I don't care at this point. Most men undervalue what they provide and their value, and most women nowadays overvalue.
Yeah, we talk about that.
There's no way all you ladies are 10s. I'm sorry. It's just
all y'all ain't a prize.
Oh, no.
And all y'all ain't the table.
No. If I hear I am the table one more time, I'm gonna come.
All y'all ain't queens.
I need to get the chainsaw, start cutting legs off that table.
So we gotta. So as a guy, we gotta keep that in our mind, and we gotta, to some degree, stay in our lane, but make sure that whoever it is in our lane. I'm not saying good or bad, better or worse. I'm just saying is the one for us. And then, if you've hung around this long, ladies, I'm gonna give you the key to find out if a guy could possibly ready to be emotionally available with you. Ask him if he's done any, or ask him or find out if he's done any kind of work on himself. What does he do? And what does he read anything? Does he listen to anything?
Does he know his attachment styles? Does he know his personality type?
All that kind of stuff. And then on top of that, what is his relationship like with other guys? If he does not have healthy guy relationships in his life, he's not a healthy guy to have a relationship in your life.
Preach it, brother. Amen.
And so these are keys in order to how to tune in on the right kind of guys. And there are a lot of these guys that I'm talking about, guys that have good, healthy relationships with other guys who have done some personal growth. If you ever get a chance, if you're one of these ladies that are here going on dates with Tanner, he's a catch. Yep. He just kind of is, right? And we're gonna do a live stream on one of his dates and prove it to y'all. But
don't be scared.
But so yeah, ladies, that's how you can make sure that a guy is emotionally available, ready to be emotionally available. Is he, or has he done any work on himself to know himself? And then secondly, does he have any, or what does his circle of guy friends looks like? If he doesn't have either, peace out.
I got to put my 2 cents in, because yes, that is a great way to find that guy. But if you're not that woman,
yes,
don't expect that guy to fall for you.
No.
Because I have heard so many times ladies like, where can I find an emotionally intelligent man? Well, an emotionally intelligent man comes with boundaries, and he will next you so quick when he realizes that you're not bringing peace to his life. You're not bringing benefit to his life. If you're bringing drama and argument and just more stress.
Yeah.
So many other words.
Peace out.
So many other words in my head. I'm going to stop with stress.
Yeah.
If you're not bringing something to improve his life, he is out.
Yeah.
Because an emotionally intelligent person can see somebody who is not. They have boundaries, they have a foundation, and they use them. Now, if somebody has a weak foundation, weak boundaries, they're not emotionally intelligent. They're not doing their work, and they're probably coming from a trauma bond. They're probably coming from a feeling of less than, trying to find validation. And you don't want that guy. But if you want the guy who's emotionally intelligent, you have to be emotionally intelligent as well and know what you're bringing to benefit him, and I guarantee you, if you ask him what he's going to bring to benefit you, he will tell you, because he knows he's worked on it.
And when a guy has, exactly like you say, when a guy has that circle of other guys around him, we talk.
Oh yeah.
Right. And we share, not like gossip, but I'm talking about encouragement, perspective, and all that kind of stuff.
And we'll tell a guy
and
when
it's
he's
like,
going
hey,
out of
man,
pocket.
you know, like, dude, you need to. And you know, there's, I mean, one of our guys, man, one of our boys, you know, man, it wasn't too long ago that some of us was like, man, I don't know about this one. And now, now hindsight is 2020. But if he is a guy that we're talking about, one of these emotionally whole and well guys and all that kind of stuff, you're right, man. He might not put up with a whole lot of nonsense that you have to offer. So that's the double side to that sword.
Yeah, any man who's healed his broken heart, done his inner work, is looking for a woman who's going to add peace and stability and support in his life. And if that's not you, you could be you if you want to do the work and become that person. But if it's not you, then don't bother messing with that guy, because he's not going to be pretty. He's going to be next to you so quick.
If you keep ending up with dysfunctional men, maybe it's because the functional men don't want nothing to do with you.
And all the good men, when all the ladies are like, where are all the good men at? Hey, man.
I'm telling you.
See, when all the ladies are like, where are all the good men at? Well, they're probably running from you because they saw you a mile away.
And I mean, these are just harsh. I mean, we're just being straight up.
We're not trying to be mean.
This is the way guys talk, right? I mean, this is just real deal stuff. And all of y'all aren't broken. There are a lot of great women that deserve a great man. Period. Y'all have been through a lot of stuff. You've done work. You're not bringing baggage in. All that kind of stuff. There are a lot of you that deserve it. And maybe it's just a matter of time. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's just you also learning what to look for and how to look and all these other kind of things.
And becoming the person that will be a match to that person you want.
Absolutely.
That's the biggest thing.
And so, I mean, these are just pointers and tips and all these other kind of things. But
take it or leave it.
But it is what it is. And so, because when a guy is heartbroken, man, it's a tough place to come back from. Yeah. It's a real tough place to come back from.
But I have to say, if you can be of support during a man's heartbreak when he's healing, he will respect you so much more and be much more likely to be loyal and whatnot, because we tend not to get any support whatsoever. So we found a woman who we're interested in or who can be supportive while we're healing ourselves through heartbreak, or through trauma, heartbreak, trauma, loss of a family, or whatever it is. Any of those things, if you can be supportive of that man during that time, like they say, if somebody's not going to be there at your worst, they can't be there at your best. It's something to look at, ladies. I know you all want the full package and you want them to have it all going on before you even talk to them or whatnot, but you might want to use a little depth of vision. What's going to be the best way to start for a beneficial future and a long-term future? Might not be what you thought.
I'm curious if any ladies got any advice for other ladies about heartbreak. I mean, as far as, just comments or experiences that you've experienced with a guy, maybe a guy who has been heartbroken and you got him next. Or some experience where a guy broke your heart and what that looked like. I mean, we're guys, so we don't see the female perspective, and so we don't necessarily have both sides of that picture. So I'd love to see.
Put in the comments. Tell us how crazy we are about all this, because we'll do another episode all about what y'all told us.
Boom, I'm down with that for sure.
Yep.
But it is a thing, man, and I would say for sure, guys, man, just take time.
Yeah,
just take
slow
time.
down.
Like, just take time, man. Just go out and go play golf. Go learn how to play golf. I mean, meet some guys, do some guy stuff. But if nothing else, man, I'm telling you, a day on a golf course is a great day to clear your head.
Yeah, it might be a little heartbreaking on the golf course too, but you can handle that heartbreak. Yeah, it's a good practice.
It's
a good practice for life.
Practice. So, hey, we love each and every one of y'all. We appreciate you. Holler at us, madmenradio.com. Check us out, YouTube, Facebook. I mean, man, you could send a pigeon with a messenger on it, whatever you want, man.
Smoke signals.
But put a comment, like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. And we look forward to seeing y'all next time. So until then, Mad Men are
out.